It was a sweltering summer afternoon in 2023 when my wife, Sarah, and I pulled into the driveway of our new home in Oak Ridge Meadows, a gated community in suburban Atlanta that promised serene living with community spirit. We'd uprooted from the city after my promotion at the tech firm, seeking a quieter life for our 3-year-old daughter, Lily, who was just starting to toddle around and explore. The house was a charming ranch style with a wide front porch, mature oaks shading the yard, and a backyard big enough for a swing set. What sealed the deal was the affordability, well below market thanks to a motivated seller. But as we unpacked boxes, I noticed the HOA welcome packet on the kitchen counter, a glossy folder stuffed with rules thicker than a phone book. "No worries," Sarah said, flipping through it. "It's standard stuff. Keep the grass cut, no loud parties. We'll blend right in." Famous last words. Little did we know, the real estate agent had glossed over the neighborhood's infamous enforcer, HOA Karen, whose real name was Brenda Hargrove, but everyone whispered Karen behind her back. From day one, the red flags waved. As I hauled in furniture, a pristine white sedan slowed to a crawl in front of our house. Out stepped Karen, late 50s, sharp bob haircut, khaki capris, and a lanyard with an HOA badge dangling like a sheriff's star. She introduced herself as the compliance officer, clipboard in hand, and immediately pointed out our moving truck's improper parking angle. Rule 4.2. Vehicles must align parallel to the curb, she said, with a saccharine smile that didn't reach her eyes. I apologized, adjusted the truck, and thought that was it. But over the next weeks, she became our shadow. A note on our door about the unapproved welcome mat. Too colorful, apparently. An email citing our recycling bin's visibility from the street. Sarah laughed it off at first, but I felt a prickle of unease. I'd heard stories online about overzealous HOAs, but this felt personal. The intrusions started subtly. One evening, after a long day debugging code at work, I came home to find our front door slightly ajar. Sarah was inside with Lily, oblivious. "Did you leave it open?" I asked. She shook her head. No, she'd been in the kitchen all afternoon. Nothing was missing, but a few drawers in the living room looked rummaged through. We chalked it up to wind or forgetfulness, but I installed a basic doorbell camera anyway. 2 days later, it pinged while we were at the grocery store. Footage showed Karen approaching our porch, glancing around, then letting herself in with what looked like a key. She was inside for 5 minutes before emerging, clipboard scribbling furiously. My blood ran cold. "What the hell?" I muttered, showing Sarah the video. She gasped. "Is she breaking in?" We confronted her that evening at her house down the block, a pristine colonial with perfectly manicured hedges. "Oh, that," Karen said dismissively. "As HOA officer, I have master access for inspections. Your garage had an oil stain visible from the street. Violation of cleanliness standards." It was a lie. Our garage was spotless, but the HOA bylaws, buried in fine print, allowed emergency inspections at the board's discretion. That was the spark. Sarah and I weren't confrontational types. I'm a software engineer, she's a part-time graphic designer, but this crossed a line. Lily was napping inside during one of these inspections. What if Karen startled her? The emotional toll crept in. Sarah started double-checking locks obsessively, her usual easygoing nature fraying. "I feel violated," she confessed one night, tears welling. "This is our home." I nodded, hugging her tight. My own stress mounted. Work deadlines loomed, and now this. We tried the diplomatic route first. A polite email to the HOA board requesting Karen cease unannounced entries. The response? A form letter affirming her authority and fining us $50 for non-compliant porch light bulbs. Karen's visits escalated. She'd inspect while we were out, leaving notes inside on our counter. Kitchen blinds not uniform, correct immediately. Once, she rearranged our pantry, claiming health code concerns. The invasion of privacy gnawed at us. Friends advised moving, but we'd sunk our savings into this house. Uprooting Lily so soon felt like defeat. By fall, the pattern was clear. Karen targeted newcomers, using her position to snoop and control. Neighbors whispered warnings. Mr. Patel down the street had endured similar until he paid voluntary contributions to the HOA fund. A young couple had sold after Karen's inspections uncovered violations that cost thousands to fix. I started documenting everything, timestamps from the camera, photos of her notes, even audio from a hidden recorder I set up. Sarah researched online forums, learning about HOA overreach laws in Georgia. "We can fight this," she said, fire in her eyes. But Karen's next move pushed us over the edge. One rainy afternoon, I worked from home with a migraine. The doorbell cam alerted me, Karen again slipping in. I confronted her in the hallway. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. She startled, dropping her clipboard. "Routine check. Your fence post looks warped." It wasn't. As she left, I noticed our medicine cabinet ajar. Had she been rifling through our prescriptions? That night, Lily woke screaming from a nightmare about the mean lady. Enough was enough. Revenge brewed. Not vandalism or threats, but something smart, legal, and humiliating. We consulted a lawyer friend, Mark, who specialized in real estate. "She's abusing her access," he said, reviewing our evidence. "Georgia law requires notice for inspections unless it's a true emergency. You could sue for trespass." But lawsuits were costly and time-consuming. Instead, Mark suggested gathering more proof and petitioning the board. Sarah and I brainstormed over wine. "What if we catch her in the act, visibly?" I mused. That's when the idea hit. Rig the door with something innocuous, but marking. Blue paint, non-toxic, washable, but bright and sticky. I'd seen similar pranks online, but we'd make it legal. We filed a formal complaint with the board first, demanding Karen's key be revoked. No response. So Phase 1, upgrade security. I installed interior cameras and a smart lock that logged entries. Phase 2, the trap. I coated the inner door frame with a thin layer of blue craft paint, hidden under a removable strip, activated only if the door opened without our code. Tension built as winter approached. Karen's inspections continued, twice more on camera, each time leaving petty citations. The emotional strain peaked when Sarah found a note in Lily's room. "Toys not stored properly. Safety hazard. How dare she enter our child's space?" I lost sleep, replaying footage, my work suffering. Colleagues noticed my distraction, but we held firm. Neighbors started opening up via anonymous notes slipped under our door. "She's done this to us too," one read. "Fight back." We formed a quiet alliance, sharing stories at a backyard barbecue, carefully within rules. The group grew to 10 households, all with grievances, unauthorized entries, inflated fines, even rumors of Karen pocketing dues. One crisp December morning, with Sarah and Lily at playgroup, the trap sprung. The cam notified me, Karen at the door, key in hand. She entered, and, splat, the paint strip released, dousing her blouse in vibrant blue. She yelped, visible on video, frantically wiping but smearing it worse. I watched from my home office, heart racing. She stormed out, blue streaks on her face and clothes, clipboard abandoned. Gotcha. But that was just the setup. The real revenge unfolded next. The blue paint incident was the spark we needed, but it wasn't the end game. As I watched Karen storm out of our house on the camera feed, her pristine white blouse now a splattered mess of blue, I felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with dread. We'd caught her red-handed, or blue-handed. But she wasn't the type to slink away quietly. Sarah came home from playgroup with Lily, and I showed her the footage. Her jaw dropped, then she burst out laughing. "Oh my God, Alex, she looks like a Smurf." Lily, oblivious to the stakes, giggled at the blue lady on my phone. But Sarah's laughter faded fast. "She's going to come for us now," she said, her voice tight. She was right. Karen wasn't just embarrassed. She was cornered, and cornered bullies fight dirty. That night, we locked the footage on a secure drive and sent a copy to Mark, our lawyer friend. "This is gold," he texted back. "Trespass. Abuse of power. Keep documenting." The next morning, an email from the HOA hit our inbox. Karen, now officially Brenda Hargrove, HOA compliance officer, claimed we'd vandalized her during an authorized inspection, demanding $500 for damages and threatening legal action. "She's flipping the narrative," I fumed, pacing the kitchen. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Let her try. We've got the video." But the email wasn't the worst of it. By noon, Karen was at our door with a tow truck, claiming our car was parked improperly, in our own driveway. I rushed outside, waving the driver off. "This is private property," I shouted. Karen smirked, clipboard in hand, now spotless in a fresh outfit. "Rule 6.1. Vehicles must not obstruct access," she said. The tow driver, clearly uncomfortable, left when I showed him our property line map. Karen's smirk faltered, but she hissed, "You'll regret this." I felt a chill, not just from her threat, but from the realization she'd never stop unless we forced her to. The emotional toll was mounting. Sarah started checking the cameras obsessively, jumping at every notification. Lily sensed the tension, clinging to us more. Her usual chatter replaced with quiet questions like, "Is the mean lady coming back?" I'd hug her, promising she was safe, but inside, I was seething. This was our home, our sanctuary after years of grinding work. Me debugging endless code. Sarah freelancing late nights to afford this place. Karen was stealing our peace, and for what? Power? Control? We needed a plan, not just to protect ourselves, but to turn the tables. Mark suggested a two-pronged approach. File a formal trespass complaint with the police using the paint video, and rally neighbors for a board challenge. HOAs hate public exposure, he said. Get enough residents behind you and she's done. We started with the neighbors. At our barbecue, we'd connected with 10 households. But now we needed more. I created a private WhatsApp group, naming it Oak Ridge Freedom, and invited those we trusted. Mr. Patel, who'd been shaken down for contributions. The Wilsons, who'd been fined for their dogs barking. And Maria, a single mom hit with a $300 fine for a non-compliant mailbox. Within days, 15 households joined, sharing their own Karen horror stories. One had a photo of her measuring their grass height with a ruler. Another recorded her berating them at an HOA meeting for a cluttered porch. The group buzzed with outrage, but also fear. Karen had loyalists, older residents who liked her order. We had to move carefully. Meanwhile, Karen escalated. She started daily patrols, parking her sedan across from our house, binoculars glinting in her hands. Once, I caught her on camera slipping into our backyard, inspecting our fence. Sarah was livid. "She's in our space again," she said, clutching Lily's stuffed bunny like a stress ball. I upgraded our security. Motion sensors, floodlights, and a new lock system that texted us entry attempts. Sure enough, Karen tried her key again, unsuccessfully, thanks to the smart lock. The app logged it, 2:14 a.m. Who inspects at 2 a.m.? We filed the police report, attaching the paint video and lock logs. The officer, a no-nonsense guy named Torres, took it seriously. "This isn't an inspection. It's trespass," he said, promising to warn her. But Karen wasn't deterred. She sent another HOA notice, fining us $200 for obstructing compliance with our new locks. The audacity was staggering. The group chat became our war room. Maria suggested a petition to remove Karen from the board, citing Georgia HOA laws requiring 51% of residents to call a special election. We needed 42 signatures from 82 lots. Mr. Patel offered to canvass discreetly, avoiding Karen's allies. Sarah designed flyers. End HOA overreach. Protect our homes. We distributed them at night, slipping them into mailboxes of neutral residents. By week's end, we had 38 signatures. Close, but not enough. Karen caught wind and retaliated, posting signs around Oak Ridge. Support your HOA. Stop troublemakers. She named no names, but we knew it was about us. A few neighbors backed out, spooked by her influence. Doubt crept in. Could we really win? Our savings were stretched thin. Another fine or legal fee could break us. Then, a break. Mark dug into the HOA's public financial records and found irregularities. $8,000 in maintenance payments to a company owned by Karen's cousin with no invoices. This could be fraud, Mark said, eyes gleaming. Present this at the election, and she's toast. We planned a neighborhood meeting, not an official HOA one, but a community forum at Mr. Patel's house, advertised as a potluck to dodge Karen's rules. We prepped a presentation, the paint video, trespass logs, financial discrepancies, and our deed proving our property rights. The night before, Karen emailed the neighborhood, warning against divisive gatherings. It backfired. More residents joined, curious. At the potluck, 50 people crammed into Mr. Patel's living room, eating lasagna and swapping stories. When I played the paint video, gasps turned to laughter. "She's blue," Maria whispered, covering her mouth. The mood shifted, anger to resolve. We got 4 more signatures, hitting 42, but Karen was scheming too. She announced an emergency HOA meeting the same night as our planned forum, claiming to address community safety concerns. It was a power play to split attendance. We moved our event earlier, and 45 residents showed up, including a few of Karen's loyalists, drawn by curiosity. I spoke first, voice shaking but firm, recounting how Karen's intrusions scared Lily, how her fines drained families. Sarah showed the financial records, and Mark explained the petition process. The room erupted in questions, some skeptical, but most furious. By the end, we had 48 signatures, enough to force the election. As we cleaned up, Maria hugged us. "You're giving us our homes back," she said. But I couldn't shake the fear. Karen would fight dirty, and the election was our last shot. That night, Sarah and I lay awake, Lily snoring softly between us. "If we lose, she'll make our lives hell," Sarah whispered. I squeezed her hand. "We won't lose. We've got the truth." But truth alone wasn't enough. We needed strategy, and the blue paint was just the start. Karen's next move would test us, and we had to be ready. With 48 signatures secured, the special election was locked in for early January, giving us just 3 weeks to prepare. The air in Oak Ridge Meadows crackled with tension, like the neighborhood was holding its breath. Karen's emergency HOA meeting had been a flop. Only a dozen of her loyalists showed up, and even they seemed rattled by rumors of her shady finances. But she wasn't done. Her sedan became a constant presence, circling our street like a vulture, her binoculars glinting at dusk. She doubled down on inspections, targeting our allies now. Mr. Patel got a $150 fine for unapproved garden mulch, and Maria was hit with a $100 citation for a faded house number. It was intimidation, plain and simple, and it stung. Sarah's anxiety spiked. She'd check the cameras every hour, her hands trembling as she tucked Lily in. "What if she comes after us harder?" she asked one night, her voice barely above a whisper. I hugged her, hiding my own fear. "We've got her on the ropes," I said, but doubt gnawed at me. Karen was desperate, and desperate people were unpredictable. Our group chat, Oak Ridge Freedom, became our lifeline. Neighbors shared updates. Karen was spreading lies, telling residents we were outsiders, trying to destroy community standards. She even knocked on doors, offering to waive fines for those who'd reconsider their stance. A few wavered, but most held firm, fueled by years of her bullying. Mark, our lawyer, was relentless, digging deeper into the HOA's financials. He found more. $12,000 paid to Hargrove Consulting, a shell company tied to Karen's home address. "This is embezzlement," he said over Zoom, his voice grim. "If we present this right, the board's done." But we needed to play it smart. Too early, and Karen could spin it. Too late, and we'd lose momentum. We decided to save the financial bombshell for the election, focusing first on exposing her trespassing. The blue paint video was our ace, but we needed more. I rigged additional traps, motion-activated sprinklers in the backyard, set to douse anyone crossing the property line at night. Non-toxic, legal, and humiliating. Sure enough, 2 nights later, the camera caught Karen sneaking around our fence at 1 a.m., only to get soaked. She shrieked, flailing as water sprayed her pristine coat, her flashlight dropping into the mud. Sarah and I watched the footage, stifling laughs. "She's unhinged," Sarah said, but her smile faded. "What if she sues us for this?" Mark reassured us. "She's trespassing. The sprinklers are on your property. She's got no case." Still, we knew she'd retaliate. The next day, a $300 fine arrived for excessive water usage, claiming our sprinklers violated drought rules. There was no drought. It was pure spite. We leaned harder into community support. Maria organized a Know Your Rights workshop at her house, inviting a local attorney to explain HOA laws. 30 residents came, packed into her living room, asking questions about fines and privacy. The attorney confirmed Karen's inspections were illegal without notice, boosting our confidence. We printed more flyers, this time with screenshots of the paint and sprinkler videos, faces blurred for legality. "Protect our homes from HOA abuse." They read, with a QR code linking to a secure site hosting our evidence. The site got 200 hits in a day. Neighbors were waking up. But Karen fought back, posting a newsletter accusing us of harassment and defacing HOA property with the paint. She even called the police, claiming we'd assaulted her with the sprinklers. Officer Torres visited again, watched the footage, and shook his head. "She's on your land without permission," he said. "I'll issue another warning." But warnings weren't enough. She was untouchable, or so she thought. Emotionally, we were fraying. Lily stopped playing outside, scared of the blue lady. Sarah's freelance work suffered. She missed deadlines, her eyes red from late-night stress. I was barely holding it together at work. My code riddled with errors as I obsessed over Karen's next move. One night, I found Sarah crying in the bathroom, clutching a note Karen had left in our mailbox. "Stop your lies, or face consequences." It wasn't just a threat. It felt personal, like she was targeting our family's core. I slammed my fist on the counter, startling Lily awake. "We're ending this," I told Sarah, my voice shaking with resolve. We doubled down on the election plan, nominating Maria, Mr. Patel, and a retired teacher, Mrs. Ellis, for the new board. They were respected, relatable, and fed up, perfect candidates. We needed a knockout punch for the election. Mark suggested a public forum to present our case before the vote. We booked the community center, framing it as a neighborhood unity event to avoid HOA rules. Karen tried to block it, claiming the center was reserved, but we'd secured it legally through the town. The event was set for the weekend before the election, and we spread the word through the group chat and flyers. Neighbors volunteered. Mrs. Ellis baked cookies, Mr. Patel brought a projector, and Maria designed posters. We rehearsed our presentation, the trespass videos, financial records, and a timeline of Karen's abuses. But doubt lingered. Karen had a loyal bloc, about 20 residents who feared change or owed her favors. If they rallied, we could lose the vote. "We need something undeniable," Sarah said, staring at the paint video. That's when I had an idea. Live-streamed the next trespass. I rigged a new trap, blue food coloring in a pressure-sensitive mat under the doormat, wired to alert my phone. If Karen stepped on it, she'd be marked again, and we'd stream it to the group chat. It felt risky, but Mark approved it as legal. Our property, our rules. 2 nights before the forum, the trap triggered at 3 a.m. Karen, in a black hoodie, crept onto our porch, key in hand. The mat activated, splattering her shoes and pants with blue. She cursed, stumbling back, unaware we were streaming to 30 neighbors. The group chat exploded. "She's at it again! This is insane!" We had her. The forum would be our stage to show it. The day of the forum, Karen sent an email blast, urging residents to skip our divisive event. It backfired. 60 people showed up, filling the community center with murmurs of anticipation. I opened with Lily's story, how she feared playing outside because of Karen. Sarah showed the trespass videos, the room gasping at the blue paint and sprinkler clips. Mark presented the financials, detailing $20,000 in questionable payments. Neighbors shouted questions. "Where's our money? Why's she in our homes?" Karen wasn't there. She'd claimed a scheduling conflict, but her absence spoke volumes. We ended with a call to vote her out. The crowd cheered, but I saw a few skeptical faces. Karen's loyalists were spreading doubts, whispering about stability. We left the forum energized but nervous. The election was days away, and everything hung in the balance. That night, as Lily slept, Sarah and I sat on the porch, the air heavy with Georgia humidity. "We're so close," she said, her voice weary but hopeful. "But what if she twists it?" I squeezed her hand, thinking of Lily's nightmares, our drained savings, the neighbors counting on us. "She won't," I said. "We've got the truth, and blue paint." But deep down, I knew the fight wasn't over. Karen had one last move, and we had to be ready. The forum had lit a fire under Oak Ridge Meadows, but it also painted a bigger target on our backs. Karen wasn't at the community center that night, but her absence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. By Monday morning, 2 days after the forum, her counterattack hit like a storm. A glossy HOA newsletter landed in every mailbox, accusing us of spreading falsehoods and endangering neighborhood safety with our reckless traps. She twisted the blue paint incident, claiming we'd booby-trapped our property to assault her during a lawful inspection. Attached was a blurry photo of her blue-stained shoes, captioned, "This is what rebels do to your HOA." No mention of her trespassing at 3 a.m. Sarah read it aloud at the kitchen table, her voice shaking with anger. "She's spinning this to make us the villains," she said, crumpling the paper. Lily, coloring nearby, looked up. "Is the blue lady mad at us again?" she asked. My heart sank. I knelt beside her, forcing a smile. "She's just confused, sweetie. We're fixing it." But inside, I was boiling. Karen was playing dirty, and the election was just 5 days away. Her next move came faster than expected. That afternoon, a process server knocked on our door, handing me a cease and desist letter from Karen's lawyer. She was suing us for property damage, the paint, and emotional distress, demanding $5,000. The letter also threatened an HOA injunction to block our petition, claiming it was fraudulently obtained. I called Mark immediately. "She's bluffing," he said, scanning the document over Zoom. "Her case is weak. No proof of damage, and your traps were legal on your property. But she's trying to scare others into backing off." Scare us, maybe, but it only fueled our resolve. Sarah and I sat up late, strategizing. "We need to hit back harder," she said, her eyes fierce. "Show everyone she's the liar." Mark agreed. "Double down on the financial evidence at the election. It's your knockout punch." Karen's intimidation tactics spread. She targeted our allies, slapping Mr. Patel with a $400 fine for unpermitted exterior lights, his porch bulbs, and Maria with a $250 penalty for litter. a leaf pile from a storm. The group chat buzzed with outrage, but 2 households dropped out, spooked by the lawsuit threat. "She's picking us off," Maria texted. "We need something big to keep people on our side." I had an idea. Go public. We'd avoided social media to keep things local, but Oak Ridge had a private Facebook group with 200 members. I posted an anonymous summary of our case, trespass videos, financial discrepancies, and a call to vote. To protect ourselves, we blurred faces and cited public records. The post exploded. 150 likes, 60 comments, mostly support. "She did this to me too," one user wrote. "Time to vote her out." But Karen's loyalists fought back, commenting, "Stop spreading lies. Brenda keeps us safe." The neighborhood was splitting, and the election felt like a coin toss. Emotionally, we were on edge. Sarah barely slept, her laptop open to HOA law forums, her face pale from stress. Lily's nightmares worsened. She'd wake crying about the lady in our house. I was slipping at work. My boss pulled me aside after a botched presentation, asking if I was okay. "Family stuff," I mumbled. But the truth was, Karen was consuming us. Our savings were dwindling from legal fees and fines, and the thought of losing made my stomach churn. We'd poured everything into this house for Lily. A safe place after my parents' messy divorce left me craving stability. Karen was stealing that dream, and I'd be damned if she won. We tightened our election plan. Mark drafted a presentation for the vote, slides of the trespass videos, financial records, and a timeline of Karen's abuses. We'd end with a call for Maria, Mr. Patel, and Mrs. Ellis as new board members, trusted faces who'd restore fairness. To counter Karen's narrative, we needed more evidence. I rigged another trap, a motion-activated air horn under the porch, loud but harmless, set to go off if Karen crossed our property line again. Mark confirmed it was legal, our land, our rules. Sure enough, at 4 a.m., 2 nights before the election, the horn blared. The camera caught Karen jumping back, clutching her ears, her flashlight rolling into the grass. She fled, but not before the group chat saw the live stream. "She's obsessed," Mr. Patel texted. The clip went viral in the Facebook group. With 300 views by morning, Karen's credibility was crumbling. But she wasn't out. She called an urgent HOA meeting the night before the election, claiming to address vandalism concerns. We knew it was a last-ditch effort to sway voters. Only 15 residents attended, her core loyalists, but she used it to paint us as dangerous agitators. She even projected the photo of her blue shoes, claiming we'd attacked her. A neighbor tipped us off, sending a blurry video of her speech. "She's desperate," Sarah said, watching it. "But she's convincing." We countered with a final push, door-to-door visits to neutral residents, sharing printed screenshots of the air horn clip and financial records. We avoided Karen's allies, focusing on undecideds. Mrs. Ellis, with her warm smile, won over 3 households, pushing our signatures to 50. It felt like enough, but doubt lingered. Karen's lawsuit threat loomed large. The community center was booked for the election, and we prepared like it was war. Sarah made posters, "Vote for freedom, end HOA abuse." We recruited volunteers to hand out flyers and monitor the vote for fairness. Mark warned us Karen might try to disqualify ballots, so we had a notary ready to certify signatures. The group chat pulsed with nervous energy, neighbors sharing pep talks, memes of blue-painted Karens, and promises to show up. But Karen's final move hit the day before the vote. A cease-and-desist letter to every petition signer, claiming they'd be liable for defamation if they voted against her. It was a scare tactic, but it worked. 3 more households backed out, leaving us at 47 signatures. "We're still above 51%, Mark said, but his voice was tense. We needed every vote. That night, as Lily slept, Sarah and I sat in the dark, the air horn video looping on my laptop. "We've done everything we can," I said. but my chest was tight. Sarah squeezed my hand. "We're not just fighting for us," she said. "It's for Lily, for Maria, for everyone she's hurt." Her words steadied me. We'd exposed Karen's trespassing, her finances, her lies. The blue paint and air horn were our hooks, but the real weapon was community. Neighbors united against a bully. The election was tomorrow, and it felt like our last stand. Karen was down, but not out, and I knew she'd have one final trick up her sleeve. The day before the election felt like the calm before a hurricane. Oak Ridge Meadows was a powder keg, with neighbors whispering in driveways and Karen's sedan prowling the streets like a predator. Her cease and desist letters had spooked 3 more households, dropping our petition signatures to a precarious 47. Still enough to force the vote, but a razor-thin margin if she challenged ballots. Sarah and I were running on fumes, our nerves frayed from months of her intrusions. Lily's clinginess had worsened. She'd stopped drawing her usual sunny pictures, instead sketching blue monsters that broke my heart. At work, I'd been put on a performance plan after missing another deadline. My mind consumed by Karen's latest move, a new HOA email blast, accusing us of inciting chaos and promising legal consequences for our dangerous traps. She included a doctored photo of the air horn, claiming it injured her hearing. It was a lie, but convincing enough to sway the undecided. "She's playing to fear," Sarah said, slamming her laptop shut. "We need to hit back now." Mark, our lawyer, called an emergency meeting at our house. Maria, Mr. Patel, and Mrs. Ellis crowded around our dining table, laptops and coffee mugs scattered. "Her lawsuit's a bluff," Mark said, reviewing the latest letter. "But it's working. People are scared." He suggested a final pre-election push. A public letter to the neighborhood, signed by our core group, detailing Karen's trespassing and financial misconduct. Sarah drafted it, her graphic design skills shining. Clean, bold text with screenshots of the blue paint and air horn videos, plus a redacted bank statement showing $12,000 to Hargrove Consulting. We titled it "The Truth About Our HOA" and emailed it to every resident, posting it on the Oak Ridge Facebook group too. Comments flooded in. "She was in my garage last year. I paid a $200 fine for nothing." By midnight, the post had 250 likes and 80 shares. But Karen's loyalists fought back, calling it slander. The neighborhood was a battleground, and we were losing sleep. Karen's next move was personal. At 7 a.m., a code enforcement officer knocked on our door, citing an anonymous complaint about our backyard swing set, Lily's favorite. "It's too close to the property line," he said, measuring tape in hand. The violation carried a $500 fine and an order to remove it within 48 hours. I showed him our survey map. The swing set was well within bounds. He shrugged. "File an appeal, but pay the fine first." It was Karen's doing. Her signature was on the complaint. Sarah was livid, tears streaming as she watched Lily swing, oblivious to the threat. "She's targeting our daughter now," she said, voice breaking. That was the breaking point. I called Mark, who confirmed the complaint was baseless, but would take weeks to overturn. "She's trying to distract you," he said. "Stay focused on the election." But it was hard. Lily's laughter on that swing set was our daily dose of joy, and Karen was trying to rip it away. We rallied the group chat. Maria suggested a last-minute Meet the Candidates event at the community center the night before the vote. We framed it as a casual Q&A, not an HOA event, to dodge Karen's rules. Mrs. Ellis baked brownies, Mr. Patel brought a sound system, and I set up a projector for our evidence. Karen tried to sabotage it, claiming the center was under maintenance, but the town overruled her. Our booking was legit. We expected 30 people. 65 showed up, standing room only. Maria spoke first, sharing how Karen's fines forced her to skip a car payment. Mr. Patel recounted his contribution shakedown. I showed the trespass videos, the blue paint splatter drawing gasps and laughs. Sarah closed with the financials, her voice steady. This isn't just about us. It's about your money, your homes. The crowd was fired up, but Karen's allies heckled. You're liars! Brenda's kept this place pristine. We left with 52 confirmed voters, but I saw doubt in some eyes. Karen wasn't idle. She posted signs around Oak Ridge. Vote for stability, keep Brenda. She'd also hired a lawyer, who sent a letter to the HOA board demanding the election be postponed for irregularities. The board, half of whom were her cronies, scheduled a review meeting hours before the vote. It was a clear stall tactic. Mark filed an emergency injunction with the county, arguing the delay violated Georgia HOA law. The judge sided with us, ordering the election to proceed. But Karen's final blow landed that afternoon. A $1,000 fine to every petition signer for defamation via our public letter. It was unenforceable. Mark called it legal nonsense. But it scared 5 more households into withdrawing support, dropping us to 42 signatures. We were back below 51%. Panic set in. Can she invalidate the vote? I asked Mark. He frowned. If she sways the board, maybe. You need a big turnout. We scrambled. Sarah and I knocked on doors, pleading with neutral residents. Mrs. Ellis called her church group, rallying 10 more voters. Maria posted a final Facebook plea. Don't let fear win. Vote tomorrow. By nightfall, we had 45 confirmed voters, but it felt like walking a tightrope. Karen's loyalists were mobilizing too, knocking on doors with promises of waived fines. I rigged one last trap, a motion-activated camera with a flashing LED on our mailbox, hoping to catch her tampering with ballots. She'd been seen near the community center's drop box. At 2 a.m., it triggered Karen, in gloves, inspecting the box. She didn't touch it, but the footage was gold, proof of her obsession. We shared it in the group chat, and it spread like wildfire, hitting 400 views by morning. Emotionally, we were drained. Sarah's hands shook as she packed Lily's lunch, her eyes red from crying. If we lose, we might have to move, she whispered. The thought gutted me. Leaving our home, Lily's swing set, the life we'd built. My work was a mess. My boss emailed a final warning. But giving up wasn't an option. Lily deserved a home free from Karen's shadow. And so did our neighbors. The election was hours away, and we'd thrown everything into it. The paint, the air horn, the financials, the community. But Karen's desperation made her dangerous. As I kissed Lily goodnight, her tiny voice asked, "Will the blue lady leave us alone?" I promised she would, but my chest tightened. Tomorrow was do or die, and Karen was ready to fight dirty. Election day dawned cold and gray, the sky over Oak Ridge Meadows heavy with clouds that mirrored the tension in our home. Sarah and I were up at 5 a.m., triple-checking our plan over burnt coffee. The special election was set for 6 p.m. at the community center, and every minute felt like a countdown to a verdict. Lily sensed the strain, clinging to Sarah's leg as we packed her off to preschool. "Is today when the blue lady goes away?" she asked, her eyes wide. I forced a smile, ruffling her hair. "We're working on it, kiddo." But the truth was, we were teetering on the edge. Karen's last-minute fine spree and lawsuit threats had shaved our support to 42 signatures, barely enough to hold the vote. If she swayed even a few voters or rigged the process, we'd lose. The thought of her smug face winning made my stomach churn. This wasn't just about our house anymore. It was about Lily's safety, our neighbors' freedom, and proving bullies don't get to rule. Karen hadn't slept either. By 7 a.m., her sedan was parked outside the community center, where she and 2 board members, her loyalists, Gary and Diane, were overseeing the ballot setup. A neighbor in our group chat, Tom, texted a photo. Karen taping up signs that read, "Vote for order. Keep Brenda." It was a final flex of power, and it stung. We'd posted our own signs, vote for fairness, but hers were glossier, funded by who knows what. Mark warned us she might try to supervise the vote to intimidate people. Watch the ballot box like hawks, he said. We assigned Maria and Mr. Patel to monitor it, armed with phones to record any funny business. Sarah made a last-ditch social media push, uploading a montage of the blue paint and air horn videos to the Oak Ridge Facebook group, captioned, "This is who's running our HOA. Vote for change." It hit 500 views by noon, with comments like, "She's unhinged," and "I'm voting her out." But Karen's allies countered, accusing us of harassment. The group was a war zone. The emotional weight was crushing. Sarah's hands trembled as she hung flyers, her voice hoarse from door-to-door pleas the night before. "I can't take much more," she admitted, her eyes red. I wasn't faring better. My boss had called, threatening termination if I missed another deadline. But work felt trivial compared to this fight. Lily's nightmares about the Blue Lady haunted me, and every fine, now totaling $1,750, drained our savings. We'd sacrificed so much for this home, a place to rebuild after my chaotic childhood. Karen was stealing that dream, and the election was our last shot to take it back. Mark stopped by at lunch, bringing donuts and a game plan. "Stick to the script tonight," he said. "Show the videos, the financials, then let Maria and Patel close with personal stories. Emotion wins votes." We nodded, but doubt lingered. Karen's loyalists were vocal, and rumors swirled she'd bribed some with waived fines. Midday brought a new blow. Karen emailed the neighborhood, announcing an audit of petition signatures, claiming irregularities. She demanded voters show ID at the polls, a rule not in the bylaws. Mark was furious. "She's trying to suppress turnout," he said, filing a complaint with the county. The judge, already annoyed by her earlier stall tactics, ordered the election to proceed without ID checks. It was a small win, but Karen wasn't done. By 3 p.m., she'd stationed Gary and Diane outside the community center, handing out flyers that accused us of financial fraud for questioning her expenses. It was projection, pure and simple, but it scared 2 more voters into texting us they'd abstain. We were down to 40 committed votes, too close for comfort. "We need a miracle," Sarah whispered, her voice cracking. We fought back with everything we had. Mrs. Ellis rallied her church group, bringing 12 more voters. Maria called every neutral resident, her passion swaying 5. I posted a final Facebook plea, "Don't let fear win. Vote for your home," with a photo of Lily on her swing set, captioned, "This is what we're fighting for." It got 300 likes, pushing turnout projections to 45. But Karen's final stunt hit at 5 p.m. A power outage at the community center, delaying setup. We suspected sabotage. Tom saw Gary near the breaker box, but couldn't prove it. Volunteers scrambled, bringing generators and lanterns. By 6 p.m., the room was lit, packed with 70 residents, the air thick with tension and the smell of coffee. Karen stood at the front, her smile tight, flanked by Gary and Diane. Our team, Maria, Mr. Patel, Mrs. Ellis, Sarah, and I, sat in the front row, laptops ready. The meeting started with Karen's speech. She played the victim, voice trembling as she showed her blue-stained shoe photo. "I've been attacked for doing my job," she said, dabbing her eyes. A few loyalists clapped, but most sat silent. Then it was our turn. I took the podium, heart pounding, and started with Lily. "My daughter's scared to play outside because Brenda's been in our home without permission." The blue paint video played, drawing gasps and chuckles. Sarah showed the air horn clip, then the financials, $20,000 in shady payments. Maria closed, tears in her eyes. "I'm a single mom. Her fines almost broke me. We deserve better." The room erupted in applause, but Karen's allies shouted, "Lies!" The vote began, ballots handed out under our volunteers' watchful eyes. As residents marked their choices, Karen hovered near the ballot box, whispering to Gary. Maria recorded it, her phone discreet. My stomach churned. Could she tamper with votes? Mark whispered. Stay calm. We've got eyes on her. Ballots were collected, counted by a neutral resident we'd recruited. The room was silent, save for the rustle of paper. Sarah gripped my hand, her nails digging in. I thought of Lily's swing set, our drained savings, the neighbors counting on us. If we lost, Karen would make our lives hell. More fines, more intrusions. But we'd exposed her lies, her trespassing, her greed. The blue paint was our symbol, a mark of her overreach. As the final tally began, I held my breath, knowing this was it, our shot to end her reign. The community center was a pressure cooker as the ballots were counted, the hum of the generator and the occasional cough, breaking the suffocating silence. Sarah's hand was clammy in mine, her breath shallow as we watched the neutral counter. Mrs. Thompson, a retired librarian with no allegiance to either side, sort the votes into two piles. Karen stood at the back, her arms crossed, her face a mask of forced calm, but I caught the twitch in her jaw. Her loyalists, Gary and Diane, hovered nearby, whispering to each other, their eyes darting to the ballot box. Our team, Maria, Mr. Patel, Mrs. Ellis, Sarah, and I, sat rigid in the front row, our laptops open with the evidence ready in case Karen tried to pull a last-second stunt. The room held 70 residents, a record turnout for Oak Ridge Meadows, and the weight of their stares pressed down on us. My mind raced, Lily's nightmares, our dwindling savings, the wonder of $550 in fines we'd racked up, all riding on this moment. If we lost, Karen would tighten her grip, and our home would become a prison. Mrs. Thompson's voice cut through the tension. We have 68 valid ballots, she announced, her tone measured. Karen's head snapped up, fewer than expected, likely because some of her allies skipped the vote, rattled by our videos. I glanced at Mark, who gave a subtle nod. A good sign, but not a guarantee. We needed 35 votes to recall Karen and her board and elect Maria, Mr. Patel and Mrs. Ellis. Anything less, and Karen could claim victory, maybe even invalidate the election with her irregularities excuse. My heart pounded as Mrs. Thompson began reading the tally. For recall, 36. Cheers erupted from our side, but Karen shouted, "Objection! Some signatures were coerced." Mrs. Thompson raised a hand. The petition was verified by the county. "Sit down, Brenda." The room gasped. Nobody called her Brenda. Karen's face reddened, but she sat, glaring. The count continued. Against recall, 32. My stomach lurched. It was too close. Sarah squeezed my hand so hard I winced. Mrs. Thompson double-checked the piles, her glasses fogging slightly from the room's heat. "The recall passes," she said finally. The room exploded. Our allies whooped, hugging each other, while Karen's loyalists muttered angrily. Maria leapt up, tears streaming, and hugged Mrs. Ellis. Mr. Patel pumped his fist, whispering, "We did it." But the election wasn't over. We needed to confirm the new board. Karen stood again, her voice shrill. "This vote is invalid. I demand a recount." Mrs. Thompson shook her head. "The bylaws allow one count overseen by a neutral party." "That's me. Move on." The crowd cheered louder, drowning out Karen's protests. The new board vote began. Maria, Mr. Patel, and Mrs. Ellis were running unopposed as Karen's cronies had withdrawn, sensing the tide. Still, Karen tried one last trick. As ballots were handed out, Diane approached Mrs. Thompson, claiming duplicate votes from our supporters. Maria, quick on her feet, showed her phone's footage of Diane whispering to Karen near the ballot box earlier. "Care to explain this?" Maria asked, projecting the clip on our laptop for all to see. The room turned on Diane, murmurs growing to shouts. "Cheaters! Step back! Diane slunk away, and Karen's composure cracked. Her hands shook as she clutched her clipboard. Mrs. Thompson called the results. Maria Lopez, 42 votes. Sanjay Patel, 41. Margaret Ellis, 40. Elected. The cheers were deafening, shaking the community center's walls. Karen wasn't done fighting. As the crowd celebrated, she stormed the podium, snatching the microphone. "This is a sham," she screamed. "You'll regret this when property values tank." But her voice was drowned out by boos. Mr. Patel took the mic gently, his voice calm. "We're here to make Oak Ridge fair again. No more trespassing. No more fake fines." The crowd roared approval. Karen grabbed her bag and pushed through the crowd, Gary and Diane trailing her like deflated shadows. I caught her eye as she passed. Her glare was venomous, but I saw fear, too. She was out, and she knew it. Sarah hugged me, tears soaking my shirt. "We did it, Alex," she whispered. I nodded, but relief was tinged with exhaustion. The fight had cost us, emotionally, financially, mentally. The new board's first act was to void all of Karen's pending fines, including our $1,750 and the swing set penalty. They also revoked her master key access, citing abuse of authority. Mark filed a civil suit against her for trespassing, using our videos as evidence. Karen settled quickly, paying $2,000 to avoid court. But the real victory was seeing her name erased from the HOA letterhead. Neighbors stopped by our house the next day, bringing casseroles and thank yous. Maria hugged Sarah, saying, "You gave me my home back." Lily ran to her swing set, giggling, unaware of the war we'd fought. But the scars lingered. Sarah's anxiety didn't vanish overnight, and my job was still on thin ice. I lay awake that night, replaying the election, wondering if Karen would slink away or plot revenge. The community center emptied, but the energy lingered. Neighbors who'd never spoken swapped numbers, planning a block party. On our terms, no HOA rules. The blue paint became a neighborhood legend, a symbol of standing up to bullies. But as we locked up, I noticed a note taped to our car. "This isn't over. BH." My stomach dropped. Karen was down, but not out, and I knew she'd try something. For now, though, we'd won. Lily could swing without fear, and Oak Ridge felt like home again. But I kept the cameras on, just in case. The days after the election felt like waking from a fever dream. Oak Ridge Meadows buzzed with a new energy. Neighbors waved as they walked their dogs, kids played in yards without fear of fines, and the group chat, once a war room, became a place for potluck plans and friendly banter. The new board, Maria, Mr. Patel, and Mrs. Ellis, hit the ground running. At their first meeting, they repealed Karen's most draconian rules. No more uniform blind mandates, no fines for visible toys, and no unannounced inspections. Sorry, they also launched a full audit of the HOA's finances, hiring an independent firm to trace the $20,000 in questionable payments to Hargrove Consulting. Sarah and I watched the meeting via live stream, Lily asleep in my lap, her tiny snores a reminder of what we'd fought for. When Maria announced the audit, the room of 50 residents cheered. "No more secrets," she said, and I felt a weight lift. But Karen's note on our car, "This isn't over, BH," lingered in my mind like a dark cloud. Karen herself had gone quiet, her sedan no longer circling our street. Neighbors whispered she was selling her house, the "for sale" sign appearing a week after the vote. But her silence wasn't peace. It was eerie. Our cameras caught her once, late at night, standing across the street, staring at our house. The footage was grainy, her face unreadable, but it sent a chill through Sarah. "She's planning something," she said, checking the locks again. Our lawyer, Mark, reassured us. "Her legal threats are toothless now. The settlement and new board gutted her power. Still, we kept the cameras rolling and the smart lock active. The blue paint and air horn traps were gone, but I added a motion sensor to our mailbox, just in case. Lily's swing set stayed put, and her laughter as she played was a balm for our frayed nerves, but Sarah's anxiety lingered. She'd flinch at every car horn, her sleep broken by nightmares of Karen sneaking in. The financial audit brought clarity and vindication. 3 weeks post-election, the new board released a report. $22,000 in consulting payments to Karen's cousin's company, with no contracts or receipts. The firm flagged it as potential fraud, recommending a police investigation. Maria presented the findings at a community meeting, her voice steady as she showed bank statements. "This is your money," she said, "misused for years." Residents gasped, some shouting for justice. The board voted to refer the case to the county DA, and within days, officers visited Karen's house. She wasn't charged yet, but the neighborhood buzzed with gossip. "She's done," Mr. Patel texted. "No one trusts her now." Some audit also uncovered inflated fines, including our $1,150, which were refunded. We used the money to buy Lily a new playhouse for the backyard, a small victory that felt monumental. Emotionally, we were healing, but it was slow. Sarah started therapy, her sessions helping unpack the violation of Karen's intrusions. "I felt like our home wasn't ours," she confessed one night, tears falling as we sat on the porch. I nodded, my own stress surfacing. My job was still shaky, my boss unimpressed despite my recent focus. But the neighborhood's shift gave us hope. Maria organized a block party, the first in years without HOA approval. Over 80 residents came, spilling across our street with grills, music, and kids' games. Lily ran around with a sparkler, her smile brighter than I'd seen in months. Neighbors thanked us, some tearfully. "You stood up when we couldn't," Mrs. Ellis said, hugging Sarah. The blue paint story had become legend. Kids called it the Smurf Trap, giggling as they reenacted it. It was funny, but it reminded me how close we'd come to losing everything. Karen's house sold a month later, her move out swift and quiet. A neighbor saw her loading boxes, her face drawn, no longer the polished tyrant. Rumors swirled she'd relocated to a condo complex nearby, ironic given her love of control. The DA's investigation was ongoing, but Mark said charges were likely. "Embezzlement's serious," he said. "She's not coming back." Our civil suit settlement, $2,000, covered some legal fees, but the real win was freedom. The new board rewrote the bylaws, limiting inspections to emergencies with 24-hour notice. Our home felt ours again, Lily's toys scattered without fear, Sarah's blinds mismatched and proud. I even got a job offer from a rival firm, a fresh start that eased the financial strain. But scars remained. Sarah still checked the cameras, daily, and I'd catch myself glancing at the street, half expecting Karen's sedan. One evening, as we tucked Lily in, she asked, "Is the blue lady gone for good?" Sarah smiled, her first real one in weeks. "Yeah, sweetie, she's gone." I kissed Lily's forehead, but the note, "This isn't over," echoed in my mind. We'd won, but at a cost, sleepless nights, strained marriage, a job on the line. Yet, standing up, had rebuilt Oak Ridge. Neighbors now hosted barbecues, shared tools, watched each other's kids. The community was alive, not a fiefdom. The blue paint was our badge of triumph, a reminder that bullies only win if you let them. As I reflect, this fight was about more than a house. It was about protecting our family, our neighbors, our peace. We turned Karen's power trip into her downfall, not with vengeance, but with truth and unity. Have you faced an HOA tyrant like Karen? Did you fight back and win? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you triumphed.